Hello and welcome. Today, we are going to be listening to a couple of stories, including one about how an entitled mum who didn't want a female child now demands to be in her grown daughter's life. Sit back and enjoy. Am I the idiot for telling my niece her dog is not comparable to my child? I lost my 15-year-old daughter in a car accident last year. I have not been able to clean her room or go in it, so it's the same as it was when she was alive. My husband doesn't go in there either, and we keep the door closed. I don't go anywhere except work anymore, and while I'm in therapy, it isn't helping very much. My niece is 17 and has always been extremely empathetic to animals, but unempathetic to other people. Her dog passed away 2 years ago, and she was very torn up for months but has completely moved on now. Last week, she came to stay with us for the night, and my husband made her bed on the couch. She asked why she couldn't sleep in the guest room, and I told her, confused, we don't have one, we live in a 2-bedroom house. My niece said that she thought our daughter's room was the guest room now. I explained that we hadn't been able to change anything yet, and she rolled her eyes and said it was a year ago, and we need to move on. When I started crying, she tried to apologize and, I think in an attempt to relate, said she had taken the loss of her dog very hard but got over it within a year, and I screamed that my child wasn't a dog. My husband came in to moderate, and ended up telling my niece to go home, called an Uber for her. I haven't spoken to her since, but my sister reached out and said I was being unreasonable and had made my niece feel like a monster. I didn't mean to upset my niece, but I felt that she was completely out of line. Am I the idiot? Now for the top comments. Not the idiot, and I'm so sorry for your loss. Your niece is young and maybe was trying to relate to you with the only experience she's had. Until you've lost a child, you cannot possibly understand the depth of sorrow. Please, try to forgive her, she meant well. But forgiving her ignorance does not mean moving on or cleaning out that room. You take as long as you need. Second answer. But the niece is definitely an idiot. Who rolls their eyes and says it's been a year and that her aunt should get over it? Let's not use her age as an excuse. She knew she was being rude, and that was a completely inappropriate thing to do. I would have called my sister and asked her to take the kid home. Third answer. I also don't 100% buy that she was trying to relate with the dog anecdote, because she seems to have emphasized that she got over it in less than a year, as if implying original poster should have done the same. Original poster. I'm so sorry for your loss. When my oldest brother died in 2008, it shattered both my parents in ways I don't really expect them to ever come back from. Hell, I'm probably never coming back from some of that shit, and I was just his kid sister, not his mom. I look at photos from right before and right after, and I don't think I'm imagining how visible the loss is on both of them. It's normal to still be suffering, it's normal to not want to touch the room, and it's normal to react the way you did to your niece's callous behavior. I think back on what it was like to be 17, and I like to think most of the people I knew would have known better, myself included. You don't have to excuse her behavior. It was inexcusable from start to finish. Not the idiot. There is no right way to grieve or get over the loss of a loved one. I say this as someone that lost a mother over a decade ago, and to this day, my siblings and I are all at different spectrums of not healing. Comparing animals to people and children has always seemed odd to me, and it must be a Western concept. In my culture, we love our pets and they are part of the family, but we do not anthropomorphize them, attribute human characteristics or behavior to them. Both can be loved and be part of the family, and be mourned when lost, but they are not the same. I think these were two great lessons to your niece. The first is that people grieve at their own pace, and that's okay. And the second can never compare the loss of a pet to that of a child. My father once told me that the only thing worse than losing a parent is losing a child. My deepest condolences. Story 2. Am I the idiot for telling my friend it's not my fault she's still single? My husband, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for 5 years. We met online through a video game and then dated long distance for 3 years until I moved to live with him. I'm disabled and use a wheelchair while my husband is completely able-bodied. He has known this since the first time we spoke, and it has never been a problem in our relationship. I currently don't work as I'm still finishing my master's, and we are both aware that in the future I still might not be able to work full-time or even at all due to my health issues. I do what I can when it comes to household chores, but obviously, I can't do all of it. We're very happy with this arrangement. Nancy, 25 female, is a neighbor. She was my first friend here and really helped me feel more at home in a foreign country. We sometimes talk about how amazing my husband is as a partner, and she knows the details of my medical diagnosis, but there have never been any red flags in regards to her talking about my disability. Since I've known her, she's been in a string of bad relationships which I always comforted her through because I know dating nowadays can be emotionally taxing. 2 days ago my husband and I were late to an outing with Nancy and mutual friends, and someone made a joke about us having sex being the reason we're late, as it's uncharacteristic for us to not be on time. Everyone laughed, and then Nancy said that can't be true because how would we even have sex considering I'm disabled? There was an awkward silence before my husband said that the details of our sex life were none of her concern. She looked embarrassed, so we all moved on. Nancy got progressively drunker and drunker throughout the night and ended up cornering me in the bathroom and badgering me about details on how I have sex. I was uncomfortable and told her so, and then she huffed and said it's ridiculous how someone like me ever managed to get with someone like my husband, who is handsome and treats me like a queen, while she, who is normal, can't find a man who wants to commit. She also suggested I can't fulfill my husband's needs, and that he must be feeling trapped and unsatisfied in our relationship. This made me angry, so I told her it's not my fault she's still single, and that maybe it's her horrible personality that pushes men away, and that no amount of being normal can fix that. My husband and I went home after that and haven't spoken to her since. She's since shared the story with all of our mutual friends, and while my husband and the majority of friends are on my side, 2 women in our group say it wasn't very feminist of me to attach a woman's value to keeping a man, and that I knew it was a sore spot for Nancy. Am I the idiot for telling her what I did? The top comments. Not the idiot. This is not a feminist issue. She invalidated the fact that some people want a relationship with somebody because of their personality rather than their physical fitness. You merely pointed out that this was a very *tty person thing to say, and that might be the reason why she is frustrated and can't find a good man by her own description, and she obviously was frustrated. So apart from the massive red flags she showed that night, you merely answered her, admittedly stupid, question. How this is a feminist issue is beyond me. She essentially implied that women that are not normal can't have a satisfying relationship, and clearly, in her worldview, you shouldn't have one if she can't have one, so that's the real feminist issue here. She made women out like they have nothing to offer but a physique, depending on how willing you are to read into her rambling. But in no way is what you said wrong. She started *ching about her relationships. You merely pointed out that she has a *tty personality, which, from that encounter, was pretty bloody obvious. Second answer. Not the idiot. Being drunk sometimes brings out the truth with people. She was mean and completely disrespectful. Is this what she has secretly felt all along? She attached your disabled body to being able to keep a man, but you could not retaliate? You be prepared to get back. Maybe she will realize you may be physically disabled by your mind is perfectly abled, and you are just as much a woman and able as anyone else. Story 3. Am I the idiot for calling my wife insecure and manipulative? My wife is one of the smartest, quickest people I've ever met. She seems to know everything and is a really good conversationalist, which I am definitely not. But she always complains she's unlikably fat, and she dislikes being at any event where there are too many men, or even being in a small group of most guys. I know she's absolutely gorgeous, and I've personally never seen anyone treat her any different. But I've always been thin, so maybe I wouldn't notice what she's talking about. But I have noticed recently that she's been more comfortable coming with me to work events and hanging out with my brothers and cousins, and I've noticed they've started to like her a lot more. We were at my sister's engagement party when I heard her get into a lighthearted argument with my brother about some celebrity name or fact, and she was proven correct when he Googled it. Later in the evening I was surprised to see them in a very similar kind of lighthearted argument, BC they usually don't talk that much, about a TV show or author or something that I know she knows a lot about, but when she pulled out her phone to Google to answer she was wrong. I thought this was super weird and asked her about it in the car on the way home. She told me that her new strategy is if she ever proves someone wrong, she'll purposefully construct another scenario in which she can be the one proven wrong so that there won't be any hurt feelings. I told her this was ridiculous and no one takes those kinds of things seriously, and if anyone were to somehow catch her doing this, like it did, they would be offended or hurt. She got really pissed and told me that how she manages social situations is her decision and that I wouldn't understand having to play dumb for guys. But when I said that my sister's new fiancé was a really smart woman in STEM and never seemed to dumb herself down for guys and everyone really loved her, my wife said that she could get away with that because she was conventionally beautiful and easily accepted. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said I thought she was being overly manipulative and insecure. She was really quiet the rest of the car ride home and then immediately went upstairs and started writing in her journal. I'm worried I really messed up and hurt her feelings, but also I do still think it's a dumb and manipulative thing to do. Story 4. Am I the idiot if I stop my mom from seeing her grandchildren? So I, 30F, was born to parents in a country where a boy was wanted more than a girl. A girl was only thought to be a baby incubator and servant. I was the oldest of 5 children and the only girl. Thankfully, both my maternal and paternal relatives supported my education. Unfortunately, my mother believed the old views after learning about it from the neighborhood girls. She hated me from the moment I was born, refusing to feed me, hold me, or even look at me. My father's youngest sister, who was 18 at the time, was the one who did all of this. When my brothers were born, she was very happy and she was there every moment of their lives. When I was 17, she turned her attention to me, and started going on about this boy she planned to marry me to when I turn 18 and on how I would give her beautiful grandchildren. I told her that I don't plan on getting married and that I was going to adopt children. She yelled at me, and when she realized that I wouldn't budge, she started treating me worse than before. When I turned 18, I applied to college in the States and moved there. And when I was 25, finished my studies, got a well-paying job and permanent citizenship. I later adopted 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I tried to introduce them to Mom, but she had a fit, calling the vulgar things. I went LCSO. The plan to not get married fell apart when I met dear husband. We got married 2 years later. He had 2 kids, female twins, from a previous marriage. None of my family could come, but they all supported me. Except my mom. She went on a rant about Americans and other nonsense. I went no contact after that. I found out I was pregnant and gave birth 6 months ago to twin boys. One Liam looked like me, but the other Jacob looked like dear husband. I know Mom would only love Liam if she ever found out about them. I was right. Someone saw my friend's FB post about the kids and tattled to my mom. She called me from a different phone and demanded I send Liam to her so he would be raised properly. I refused because my youngest sibling turned out horrible and ended up overdosing drugs. I told her that my babies only have one grandma, and that is my mother-in-law, and that unless she changes she will never see them again. So am I the idiot? The top comments. Not the idiot. Your mom is unhinged thinking she'd take one of your kids to raise. Unless she changes, wouldn't be an option for me. She has shown you who do is. Believe her. Original poster replies. I didn't want to either. It was in a moment of weakness. I thought that if dear husband's ex and I could be best friends and be godparents to each other's kids, I could make up with my mom. I also thought of my dad. When my mind cleared, I realized that it would never happen because I spent 3 years making sure both my other children, who I don't share genes with, would be given similar opportunities and treated fairly. She will never accept them, or my dear husband, or my stepchildren. I won't let her ruin my life anymore. My dad wanted me to have a happy life, and that is exactly what I am going to do.